when I came to this country, I loved to watch PBS programs when I was a little kid. So I loved Sesame Street, Zoom, and the Electric Company. And once I was watching the Electric Company, and there was a little skit on, or it was a little cartoon, I don't remember what it was. But it was about a lady who had a mouse in the house. And she decided, you know, I got to get rid of this mouse out of the house. So she went and she got a cat to get rid of the mouse in the house. But that lazy, no good cat would stick around the house and shed it. And she said, I got to get rid of the cat out of the house. She got a dog to get rid of the cat out of the house. That loud, rambunctious dog kept barking. And she said, I got to get rid of the dog out of the house. I don't remember all the animals, but I know the last thing it came to was an elephant. Oh, no. And she got an elephant to get the other one out of the house. But the big elephant kept breaking things. So she said, you know, I've got to get the elephant out of the house. And so she got a mouse to get the elephant out of the house. And so she had a house. It was a mess with a mouse. Now, the historian Matthew Henry tells us that when Israel had trouble with one neighbor on one side, they didn't seek God. They went and seeked the neighbors on the other side to help them. So when they had trouble with the Syrians, they went and got the Assyrians. And when they had trouble with the Syrians, they got the Egyptians. And they were always looking for relief and always find oppression. And their house was a mess. Let's pray. Dear Father, we thank you, O Lord, for this day. Help me, Lord, that I might be able to present to them the word clearly, that they might understand what you gave me. My title today is Don't Go Down to Egypt. You know, God was always looking for a people that would bear his name, worship into a place that has his name, and live into a city that has his name. But it says this, if my people which are called by my name shall humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then will I hear from heaven and will forgive their sins and heal their land. So the people that he wanted to bear his name turned away and didn't really do what they were supposed to do. And he says this, and the children of Judah have done evil in my sight, saith the Lord. They have set their abomination in the house which is called by my name to pollute it. So the house that was supposed to bear his name was polluted. And it says this, and the Lord said, I remove Judah also out of my sight, as I removed Israel, and will cast off this city Jerusalem which I have chosen, and the house which I have said, my name shall be there. So they never really had a people that followed that bore his name. They never really had a place because they polluted it. Never really had a city because it never was what it was supposed to be. You know, there was a time in Israel when things were really, really bad. I mean, Israel and Judah, right? It says, on one side, it says, in the 7th year of Pekah, son of Ramaliah, Isaiah the son of Jotham, king of Judah, began to reign. And 20 years old was Asa when he began to reign. And he reigned 16 years in Jerusalem. He did that which was not right in the sight of the Lord, as David his father, but walked in the way of the king of Israel, and made his son to pass through fire, according to the abomination of the Edens, whom the Lord drove out before the children of Israel. And he sacrificed incense in high places under every green tree. That was Judah. And over in Israel it says, in the 250th year, Azariah, king of Judah, Pekah, the son of Aramaiah, began to reign in Samaria, and he reigned 20 years. And he did that was evil in the sight of the Lord. He departed not from the sins of Jeroboam, son of Nebat, who made Israel to sin. So you have Judah, and you have Israel, and you have two terrible kings who were doing lots of evil. And in this situation, God called Isaiah the prophet, and he gave him a prophecy. And we read in Isaiah 30, right? But it's broken down this way. In Isaiah 31 through 7, the Jews were reproved for seeking help in Egypt. And in 8 to 18, the judgment the judgment of God is shown. And in 19 to 26, the mercies of God is shown. And then in 27 to 33, the prophecy about the Assyrian army. Now it's 33 verses. It's a lot to read. But aren't we glad God gave us the Reader's Digest version? So if you turn over to chapter 31, you'll find the Reader's Digest version. It's only 9, not 33, but it tells the same story. So let's go there. Woe to them that go to Egypt for help, and stay on horses and trust in chariots, because they are many, and in horsemen, because they are very strong. But they look not unto the Holy One of Israel. You need to seek the Lord. Yet he also is wise, and will bring evil, and will not call back his word, but will arise against the house of evildoers, and against the help of them that work iniquity. Now the Egyptians are men, and not God. Their horses are flesh, and not spirit. When the Lord shall stretch forth his hand, but he that help shall fall, and he that is helped shall fall. They shall fail together. For thus hath the Lord spoken unto me, like as lions and young lions roaring on his prey, when a multitude of shepherds is called forth against him. He will not be afraid of their voices, nor abase himself for the noise of them. So shall the Lord of hosts come down and fight from Mount Zion and for the hills thereof. You know, when we look in the long version, in Isaiah 31, it ended with they add sins to sins. And that's because of their sins God allowed the Syrian army to come. But they add sins unto that because they never seek the Lord for help. They seek someone else. Then we go on, verse 5. And as a bird flies, so will the Lord of hosts defend Jerusalem. Defending also, he will deliver it, and passing over it, he will preserve it. In the long version, in verse 7 of chapter 30, it says, for the Egyptian shall help in vain, to no purpose. Therefore have cried concerning this. Their strength is to sit still. Now, God was saying, their strength is not to get up and go to Egypt, but go to anyways. The strength is to sit still and wait on God. Amen. You know, we go through a lot. in life, and we'll face many trials. But that's the thing we must learn to do is wait upon God.
Amen.
So many times, yeah, it's so hard, you're right. So many times we want to go on and we do things. But God said our strength is to wait upon him. It says, verse 6, turn ye now unto him, whom the children of Israel have deeply revolted. So God says, come back to me. Come back. Verse 7. For in that day every man shall cast away his idol of silver, his idols of gold, which your own hands have made, unto you for a sin. You know, not only did they go to other nations for help, but they had their own idol worship that they worshiped instead of the true God. Instead of going to him for help and depending on him, they either worship, ask for help from the gods of their own hand, or they go to other nations. Verse 8. Then shall the Assyrians fall with the sword, not of a mighty man, and the sword not of a mean man, shall devour him, but he shall flee from the sword, and his young men shall be discovered. Verse 9, let's finish it. And he shall pass over his stronghold for fear, and his prince shall be afraid of the sign, saith the Lord, whose fire is in Zion, and his furnace in Jerusalem. What God was saying was that the Assyrians shall fail when they try to capture Israel, Judah, I should say. But it shall not be from any great army that comes from himself, or the great army that they bring. It shall be from the Lord, because they wait upon him, and he will deliver. You know, after this prophecy, now we go, and Israel, as I said, had many terrible kings, and Judah had a terrible king, but time of change came. And Hoshea began to reign in Israel, and Hezekiah began to reign in Judah. But guess what? Hezekiah decided to protest, not Hezekiah, but Hoshea decided to protest against the king of Assyria. Because the king of Assyria, he had sent presents to him yearly, every year. And he decided, you know, I'm not going to send presents to the king. He went and consulted with the king of Egypt, So the king of Egypt. And when he consulted with him, then, I gotta get this name right, Salmanaser, the king of Assyria, he heard about it, and he got angry. So he came up, and he besieged Israel. And for 3 years. Then he started taking the people away. And he took them down to Assyria and put them in 2 different places. One in and another place, in the place of the Medes. Let's see, I get this right. Took them away to Samaria and Alam and Abor, the rivers of Gaza, in the city of the Medes. He took them there. And so, therefore, Israel, who trusted in Egypt, didn't make it. But over in Judah, Hezekiah, when he became king, out of all those last kings, he trusted God. In Matthew Emery said this, that, you know, when you read the text and it says he was like his father David, it says it really was like he was the closest one that ever acted like David. You know, because I mentioned before, others were like David, but it says when it comes to this one, he really, in his heart, wanted to serve God, just like David. And so he started tearing down the groves. He started tearing down the idol worship place. And he got the people to start worshiping God. And, you know, it says, because this story is mentioned in 3 different places, you know, when it comes to Hezekiah. It's mentioned in Chronicles, Kings, and Isaiah. So when you look at all of them, you put it together, you kind of get the story. So after he started doing these things, then you think you're right. You know, when we started serving God and we think we're doing good, we think everything will be, but when we're at highest point of serving God, it's when the devil tries to attack. So Sennacherib came down and attacked him. You know, Sennacherib was busy fighting his own battle over here, so he sent his generals over, 3 generals, to tell King to tell Hezekiah what he wanted. He tells the people, listen, don't trust in Hezekiah. He can't deliver you. But he also tells people, don't trust in Egypt. Now, God already told them the prophecy that if they don't trust in Egypt, there'll be a deliverance if they slowly wait on it. So he come and telling them, don't trust in Egypt. If they're falling God, they should. But don't trust in Hezekiah. But he also said, don't trust in the Lord. Now, if you turn to 2 Kings 18, 21 to 24, it says, let us say to you, but I say, but ye say unto me, we trust in the Lord our God. Is not that he whose high places, whose altars Hezekiah has taken away, and had said to Judah and Jerusalem, you shall worship before this altar here. All those high places that other kings and stuff had built, Hezekiah tore it down. And he wanted them to worship in the true place we can find God. God altar. You know, it's funny. When we're getting so compromised with our beliefs and stuff, when we turn away, people will say, hey, aren't you turning away from God? But the thing is that what we turned away is a false worship. But we have so accepted it that people have looked and see us doing it and they think that is actually true worship. Goes on to, now therefore I pray thee, give a pledge to my Lord, the king of Assyria, and I will deliver thee 2,000 horsemen. They are able on thy part to set riders in them. Now, So he goes on to say that if you don't trust in God, don't trust in Hezekiah, don't trust in Egypt, and you come to me, then you'll be blessed. Said, he goes, neither let Hezekiah make you trust in the Lord, saying, the Lord will surely deliver us, and this city shall not be delivered into the hand of the king of Syria. Hearken not to Hezekiah, for thus the king of Assyria make an agreement with me by presents, and come out to me. And then eat ye every one of his own vine, and every one of his fig tree, and drink every one water of his crystal. So he says, you're going to be blessed. You have all these wonderful things if you just come to me. You know, but God did not promise that to them. God promised, if you keep still and wait on me, then Syria will be defeated. Just 1 second. But Hezekiah, at that point, decided he's going to see Isaiah the prophet. He sent messengers to Isaiah the prophet. And the king of Assyria still sent messages to try to get the people to be discouraged. So Hezekiah got the letter and he prayed unto God. God heard Hezekiah. And God says, I send an angel. And the angel came and defeated the whole army of Hezekiah. So like a prophecy had said, if they don't go to Egypt, if they wait on the Lord, the Assyrians will be defeated. Now, it's funny how sometimes when we look at the stories, right? If you turn to 2 Kings 15, when we look at the stories, there is, God give us opportunity to turn to Him. Now, you look over and you see that on the Israel side, they tried to turn to Egypt and were defeated. But on the Judah side, they were patient and waited on God, and they had a victory. But on the Israel side, which had many terrible kings, there was opportunity because in the last 4 kings of Israel, the Assyrians came and attacked 3 of them. Now, Manahem, Paul came. And what he did, he went out and he got all the rich people of the kingdom to donate money. And he got all the money together. And he paid off the king and he went away. Then in Pekah, there is a long name, I can't remember. The king of Assyria came and he took 8 cities of Israel and took them to Assyria. But yet still, they didn't seek God. until finally the king came in Ocean and took the old city, everyone away to Syria. But then he brought in other countries, Ammon, and others, and let them dwell in the land of Samaria. But God sent lions. When God sent lions in, when God sent lion in, then they send a message to the king of Assyria. The people that you sent over there are in trouble because there's lions. So he said, you know what? I am going to get a priest that knows the God of the land. Because they're being the God because they don't know the God of the land. Get a priest to go over there and teach them the God of the land. But guess what? Matthew Henry said, how can you get a priest to teach the God of the land when the people that were in the land didn't observe the God of the land? So you see, what happened is this, that they found a priest, but is one of those priests that was offering sacrifice unto the golden calf. That was good. And so guess what? He taught the people to fear the Lord. But not good enough, because every single nation that were there, they feared the Lord and worshiped their own God. Because you didn't have somebody to come and tell them, no, you can't worship God and someone else. Because all those that were there, see, all the true priests had gone over to the Judah side. And all these false priests, so when you take one, they were always worshiping both. They tried to have God's name, but so all the nation worshiped their own God and try to worship the Lord and their own God in a mixed thing. And he says, until this day, it came on, until the time it was written. But on the Judah side, they were never taken captive because they trust in the Lord.
Amen.
You know, and they, because of what Hezekiah did, he tore him down. Because he did a complete job. Other kings have torn down something. They only had one God to serve. You know why? When I was start thinking about this, I was thinking because I was looking at it saying, how in the world does the Bible says that it was possible in our time, it was possible that the very elect would be deceived by Babylon. And I began to think to myself, well, in the long version, when you read Isaiah 30, and you read the long version, they say that the people say to the seers that God put, do not see. And to those that prophesy, do not prophesy. Speak unto us smooth words. And when we read the end, that's what the Bible says about our time. There are people that say, you know, give us smooth, easy words. Don't tell us of all those wrongs we've done. And, you know, I began to think to myself, you know, just like when Paul came and they collected all the money and sent him away. You know, when we live in the United States, we think our money can solve all the problems. So when a problem comes, we don't turn to God. We think our money can solve it, and it gets worse. Because if the problem had been solved then, it wouldn't have gone further. And so then you have, under Pekah, you had the other Syrian come and took away people captive. You know, and sometimes we say to ourselves, well, that's because they did not serve God, you know, but we're okay, you know. But nobody turned really to God. Temporary things happened. You know, 9/11 came, and people were on about the end and worried, and then all of a sudden they went away. You know, things happen, and you hear these television values come on and say, you know, it happened down here because they didn't serve God, but we do. But not really. Not really. But it's a time when we see things happen. The Bible says we should look at the sign. When you see things happen, it's time to pay attention before it gets worse. So here's the thing. When it finally got down to a shade, and the old thing was lost, people really didn't know the true voice of God. So, when Babylon says something, and you really don't know the true God, you follow it. And not be patient and wait on it. You see, just like when God wanted a people that would bear his name, will worship in a place with his name, and will live in a city with his name. God is looking at us, and he wanted a people to be called, you could say Christian, to really love his son, to walk in the ways of his son, do the things that his son asks us to do. But, you know, when you ask people, what's a Christian? People will say, oh, people born in a Christian country. Or people born in a Christian family. Or people who were baptized, like Trump raised up the thing and say, I'm a Christian, see his back. He was baptized. Or people who follow some kind of beliefs. And when you look out there, there's a lot of people who deny Jesus Christ and still think they're Christian. The Bible says, if we deny the Son, we don't have the Father. But if you have the Father, you have the Son. And they believe that if they just have God, they're Christian. But the Bible says you can't have God without Jesus. So we have to follow the ways of Jesus to be Christian. Because just like there were two groups who think they were descendants of Abraham, who think they were God's chosen people, but yet still one fall by the wayside and one did not. When it comes to the end, all of us who say we're Christian, we might fall or might survive. But the difference is, if we have been following God, and we've been listening to his word, and we've been waiting patiently for him, and not money or power or other things to defend us, but we wait patiently on him, then we will be saved. But the others will be lost. And you see, as I said before, when we get up and we say to Babylon, we don't want to follow this way. Because Babylon will say, listen, you follow me, and you do like me, and you'll eat. Because you can't buy yourself without me. So it's a blessing. Come, come. Bring presents to worship. At that point, those who say no will wait on God, will be truly delivered. You know, when we go against them, others will say, aren't you going against God? Isn't battling God? So, what we can learn from this story is there's two paths for those who claim to be God's children. One will trust in power. One will trust in money. One will trust in others. One will trust in God. The question is, what side will you be on in the end? It starts now. It starts now. That we start to listen and understand God. Because my people know my voice. Let's pray. Dear Father, I hope I've got the message right. I hope I'm telling it right, Lord, because the end is coming soon. We have seen signs, Lord. We have known it. If Israel should have noticed the signs before when the Syrians came several times, but they ignored it until they were all lost. Lord, there have been signs. We've seen it. We've seen 9/11, we've seen earthquake, we've seen famine, we've seen all these things. Yours that still our heart and really not turn towards you, Lord. We pray, Lord, that our heart might be turned towards you. We begin to listen to you and wait on you. And not on all the wealth and power that we have. Because only you truly can deliver. Help us, O Lord, that when that day comes, we will truly know you. Bless us again, Lord. We ask this thing in Jesus. Amen.
Amen.
Amen.